us for this session. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to Chetna Gala Sinha. Chetna is a trailblazer of social entrepreneurship and financial inclusion. Chetna is renowned for her commitment to helping marginalized communities, particularly women in India. As the founder of the Mandeshi Bank, the first rural bank for and by women, and the Mandeshi Foundation, she has pioneered solutions to address financial inequities by serving 850,000 women and aims to reach 1 million women by 2024. Today, Mandeshi Bank has loaned over 100 million euros, small little difference there, and regularly creates new financial products to support the needs of female micro-entrepreneurs. In 2006, Chetna founded the first business school for rural women in India. In 2013, she launched a toll-free helpline and the first chambers of commerce for women micro-entrepreneurs in the country. In 2012, she began setting up community empowerment programs for farmers and also promoted women-led farmer-producer companies. In 2018, Chetna served as a co-chair of the World Economic Forum in Davos and was a co-chair of financial inclusion at the W20 Summit in Argentina. Later that year, she was awarded the Nari Shakti Puraskar. This is the highest civilian award for women in India, and is actually given by the President of India. She is also the chair of G20 Empowers Working Group on Financial Inclusion and Business Acceleration, and is in the Advisory Council on Gender Equality for G7. Outside of all of these accomplishments, what I want to say most importantly, in my view, is that Chetna has challenged conventional norms and has substantially contributed to breaking barriers towards inclusion. Her story is not just a story of personal gain. It is the story and is a source of inspiration for all who advocate for positive change and for equal opportunities worldwide. And we are here to learn about that story. Thank you, Chetna. The stage is yours.
Namaste, and thanks, Nishi. It's my pleasure to be here at the 2023 Global Alumni Conference at iese Business School. So today, actually, I'm going to share with you the lessons I have learned in my life, particularly those lessons from women, these women who have never been to the school, but they actually taught me very different lessons. And while I was working with them, I realized that the wisdom which I got from them was not only wisdom for me or for my life or for my journey, but it was also the wisdom which changed the policy, the wisdom which changed the sector. So let me start first with my personal life. I am born and brought up, I'm a Chetna, born and brought up in India in a city, Mumbai. And actually I got into public life at a very young age. When I was a student at an undergraduate university, I met a Gandhian leader, Jayaprakash Narayan. And he was talking to the student at the campus and was telling students, this is I'm talking in 1980s, where he was telling students that you should go and work in the villages of India. And I got very fascinated about it. And I thought yes, I also want to work in the villages of India. And so I traveled with him across the country. And in my traveling, I met my husband, who is a farmer, fell madly in love with him, married him, and decided to leave Mumbai. My family was devastated. They thought I won't be able to survive in Mumbai. They thought I would come back. But I was firm that I wanted to work in the villages and work with farming community. So I shifted from Mumbai to Maswad. This is a small village in state of Maharashtra. So this whole journey is from Bombay to Maswad, and in this whole journey, today nearly more than 950,000 women are there. But these women, they never gave up. And so I am going to share the stories of these women who have never been to the school, who have never, no travel, no degrees, no exposure. Ordinary women who did extraordinary things in their lives. So let me share the story of each of one, which I have selected in this talk. So Mandeshi, as Desiree, thanks for mentioning about while introducing, is an institution, an organization and bank and foundation which has been started by these women. When I went there in 1980s, these are the women who were working on the field with the stone breakers, and these women were waiting for an opportunities to do savings. You can see these women, one can see that one will question that do they even have a money to save? These are women who were doing the work of breaking the stones, and they said that we want to save. And I was that, do you even have a money to save? And they said that no, we want to save, we stay on the street, we do not have a proper house, and we want to save to have a shelter. One of the women was very prominent in that is Kantabai, who was doing a business of blacksmith, and she said, I want to open a saving account to save, and I want to buy a tarpaulin sheet because I do not have a house and I stay on the street with my family. So I said, why don't you go to the banks? But when I took Kantabai to the different banks said that we cannot open an account of Kantabai. Why? Because her savings are too small. So then I thought that if banks are not opening the account, why not start a bank for women like Kantabai? And we applied for the banking license to the Central Bank of India. You know what happened? But our license was denied. You know why? Because our women, the Central Bank said that you're promoting members who are women, they cannot read and write. And so we cannot issue a license to the bank whose promoting members are non-literate. I was devastated. From Mumbai to Maswad, in the bus I was crying. And I told our women, all these women, that we couldn't get the license because our women cannot read and write. You know what our women said? They said that license was denied because we are not literate. Why are you crying? We will learn to read and write from today. And our literacy classes started. We applied again after 5 months, after the classes were over. And at that time, I didn't go alone to the Central Bank. With me, 15 women accompanied to Central Bank of India. These are the women who went to Central Bank, and they said that we will talk to the directors of the bank and we will see that we get the license. So when we went to the Central Bank, you know what women said? That you denied the license because we cannot read and write. But our women said, we cannot read and write, but we can count. And they challenged the officers, ask us to calculate the interest of any principal amount. If we fail, don't issue the license. But tell your officers to calculate the interest of principal amount without calculator. Grab their calculators and tell them to calculate the interest of a principal amount and see who can calculate faster. Needless to say that we got the banking license. And I'm so proud to share with you that Kantabai, who came to open the saving account, today she has her own house. She stays in her own house. So these are the women who always taught me the lessons of the banking, how the bank should run for all women bank. And the first women bank with There was no outside investment. Women in capital, women saving, women credit. And they set up the first Rural Women's Bank of India. And I'm so proud to share with you that today this bank is not only running the bank, but it is one of the first digital bank of India also. When I say digital bank, what I mean? When our women wanted to do the digital banking, they said that we also want to use ATM card, we also want to do digital banking, and we would learn to do that. And so when we said, okay, we'll have a financial literacy for women, and these are our women who are doing agent banking with the device, go to the women, and our women did the financial literacy. But our women also said that, while doing the banking, we of course will be using the digital wallet, ATM cards, but we just don't want only PIN number. We said that we will teach you through financial literacy how to remember the PIN number. They said, no, find some other solution. And so we said, okay, what about, and our women said, what about biometric? We said, that's a great idea. And so then we adopted the biometric and PIN number together. And when our women started using the digital banking, they said that anybody can steal my PIN number, but nobody can steal my thumb. Anybody can force me to get my PIN number, but nobody can take my thumb away. And with this, what were they saying? They were saying that we just don't want access to finance. We want a control on finance. And that's how hundreds and thousands of women started having not only access to finance, but control on finance. These women taught me one thing by using digital banking, and that is never give poor solutions to poor people. They are smart, and these smart solutions I have learned from our women. But women were not quiet at that time only. But they said that we are taking loan, we are doing savings, but we want to set up the business. So we started the first business school for rural women. And this business school was set up for those women who had never been to the school. And when women came to the business school, they learned and these businesses, they didn't go to the business school and then after graduating, they didn't go for jobs. What they did is that they set up their own businesses. And at that time also they faced lot of challenges. This is Sagarbai. She started a chai shop in Maswai, where the bank is. And she was selling chai. She took a course at the business school, how to run a small chai shop. And when she started a chai shop, she would bring the gas cylinder on the bicycle and would sell the chai. On Friday evening, the police arrested her in a civil dress because she was selling chai on the road and she was using the gas cylinder which was given for the domestic use and she was using for commercial purposes. We felt that, she would lose the confidence. She was arrested on Friday evening. On Monday, we got her out of the custody. And we thought that she will say that you told me to start the business and I ended up in the police custody. But when she came out of the custody, she said, I will use a commercial gas, I will take a bigger loan, set up the smart stall and actually show that I can do my business successfully. And with this whole experience, we decided that why not have a toll-free number for these women so that in any emergency they can contact us. And also after this experience, we started a iese4 MBA course where our women are mentored. There is a structured mentored program for women. We say iese4 MBA where they do MBA, 1 year MBA course and they are given that training under that whole program. And you know what? From these women, now, students from Yale, Harvard, all these universities, they come and learn from these women. That what is exactly, when you say the MBA, practically what is the MBA program? So that was another lesson which these women said that they may not be able to go to the school, but they can manage and run the business successfully. And I'm so proud to share that many of the women have got award for their best business women. But there used to be many challenges in the bank, and there used to be many challenges at the business school also. Every day some new problem will come. You are seeing here that there are so many animals. We talk about climate change, we talk about disaster, all those things. But in our village, there are frequent droughts. And so there was a very bad drought, and one of the lady, Kerabai, she came to the bank and she was mortgaging gold. She was mortgaging gold to take loan. I asked Kerabai, why are you mortgaging gold? She said, don't you realize there is such a bad drought, there is no water, no fodder. I can mortgage gold and buy fodder, but even if I mortgage gold, I won't get water. So for whom, if in search of water, if we leave this area, with whom are you going to do the banking? I felt her question was very valid. And she said, if bank cannot do anything for water, don't expect us to come to the bank. We will have to leave this place and end up into the slums of Mumbai. So then we decided that we need to work on water issues also. So Mandeshi Foundation started working with farmers, conserving water, working with all the agriculture programs. The whole idea is, and the one thing which Kerabai challenged was that as a banker, of course as a banker one would think of profit, but at the same time if we do not address the issues of climate change and if people have to migrate, then with whom are you going to do the banking? So since then our strategy of running the bank and strategy of running the business school changed. During this cattle camp, Kerabai used to sing the songs of hope for the rain, and she became very popular. So after the rains were there and cattle camp was dismantled, Kerabai came to our radio and she said that I want to feature my radio program at the radio. And we were like, Kerabai, you cannot read and write, and how are you going to feature your radio program? Kerabai said, I don't write the songs. I cannot read and write, but I make the songs in my mind and my poems, which I will narrate on the radio. And Kerabai became a famous radio jockey, and she actually has not been to the school, but she comes and and narrates her poems and songs at the radio. And you know what? One of the famous Bollywood songwriter wrote a book on Kerabai. And he asked her that how did you learn to sing? You know what Kerabai said? She said that I got married at the age of 13. I got pregnant at the age of 14. There was not enough food in the house. I used to feel hungry, and to forget the hunger, I started singing. That was the talent which Kerabai acquired in that situation, which actually kept me inspiring to work with these women and to learn from them. But while working in this whole journey of more than 2.5 decades, there are younger girls also who had so much of aspiration. You are seeing here a girl named Parvati. She came to the bank and she said that I want to work in the bank. I've graduated from 7th standard. I will be going to high school. I want to work in the bank for 2 months. I asked her, why do you want to work for 2 months? You know what she said? She said that I'm staying in a village, my high school is 8 kilometers, and when I go to the 8th standard, there are no buses. So if I work for you for 2 months, then the bank should not pay me any salary, but just give me bicycle. If I get the bicycle, I'll be able to continue to high school. It was such a simple solution for her to keep in the school. So we decided that we'll provide bicycles to girls to go to school. And I'm so proud to share with you that girls did not limit themselves just going to the high school, but today they have become champions and athletes in our area. We have a very big program of Mandeshi champions, and I'm so proud to share with you that so many girls are representing at national level and international level on a field hockey. And one of our champions is actually, she ran a marathon. This is a wrestling thing. There are national champions and girls are wrestlers. But one of our champions, she went to state of Virginia and won the gold medal as a marathon runner. This girl who was actually rearing sheep and buffaloes, but today she is a marathon runner. So these are the girls who actually aspire towards this institution. And in the similar way, with Mandeshi Foundation, we provide the doorstep health services. We provide at the business school the courses like para-veterinary courses, where these girls, young women, they come from a Dalit community, which is in India, you talk about the scheduled caste, which they have never been allowed to be in the schools. But today they are doing insemination. It is such a highly male-dominated jobs, but at business school they learn to do vaccination and insemination, and while earning and taking care of their families, they are breaking century-old caste barriers. It would be very, while working with the bank and foundation, one another thing which always kept me, helped me to remain humble, and that was the farmers program. The farming community, they always fed the population. And I also talked about the drought and all, but the major Mandeshi Foundation runs the farmers program and try to see that how we can finance women farmers, and at the same time, how can we make the agriculture profitable? And for that, Mandeshi is running agriculture and water testing program, Mandeshi Foundation. But the one thing which I have learned from the farmers is that many times I would say, my husband is a farmer, my mother-in-law would always be in the farming. And many times I would tell my mother-in-law that why are you doing farming? We are not earning enough. And she would say that if all farmers decide that we do not want to grow, we don't get profit, who will provide the food grain to the population? And I just felt that why is it that only farmers are thinking that way? And the another thing which at the Mandeshi we see is that how is it that if farmers cannot make profit, then the population is going to be at the risk. And so with all these programs, while working with these women, I have learned in my journey that this wisdom, many times, Lakshmi Bai, Kira Bai, when they give program on the radio also, they also talk about, we talk about AI, but they talk about the ancient intelligence. And this ancient intelligence also is helping Mandeshi to build a very different community. At the end, I would just like to share the things which are very different. And when I was, as you mentioned, I was co-chairing at Davos at World Economic Forum. So every time when I go to some such forums, I talk to our women that what should I talk to them when I go to Davos? I was talking to our village women that when I'll be co-chairing Davos, and what should I talk to them? So you know what our women said? And I told them that at Davos there is a parking lot of helicopters. There are so many corporate world of people from corporate world are coming. So in front of them, what would I talk? You know what our women said? They said, go and tell them that first 5 years of banking, we sacrificed our dividend and we built the reserves to make the bank stronger. We were the first women in the world who were going to get the dividend of the first rural women's bank, but we sacrificed our dividend. So go and tell them that if you really want to do the investment, invest in us. Anyway, if you don't invest, bank is going to grow. It is going to multiply. But if you don't invest, you will lose it, not us. And this is the lesson I got from our women. And the another thing which they said, that go and tell them, you must be talking about millions and billions of capital, but go and tell them that our courage is the capital. And I want to share with all of you that you must be meeting so many such people who must be who would have done very different work, and you would think that they may hardly have anything to offer, but their courage can become your capital also. So for me, the millions of women with whom I have worked, their courage has been a capital for me, and it can be yours also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chetna. We are now going to move towards questions for Chetna, and I'm going to actually start with a question here, and then you can feel free to start uploading your questions through the system. Thank you. Chetna, one question that I'd like to start with is some critics of microfinance argue that it has not been as transformational as we had originally intended because there's a financial overload on the part of the borrowers as they might enter a cycle of debt. What response would you have to this criticism?
So one thing I would first of all, I would say that this criticism it is a valid criticism. And why I'm saying that is also that you just cannot talk about microcredit. Microfinance is not just microcredit. And in the beginning, in my whole journey, I wouldn't have started bank if women would not have talked about savings. I would have started a company which would do microcredit. But women talked about saving. So saving is equally important. And if you just focus on credit and not saving, it is not going to help. But I would also say that these women, their generations, have never gotten access to banking. Even if they have multiple borrowing, or even if there is an overdraft, so what? I would just say, so what? I'll share with you one example. One of the women, Paryaga Bai, she came to the bank and she said that her account was non-performing account. We say in India, she had defaulted, so it was NPA. And she came to the bank and she said that I cannot repay the loan. My husband has run away because he has multiple loans and he's not in the house. I don't know where he has gone. But she said, I cannot run away because I have children, they are going to school. I cannot leave the village and leave the house. And our manager was very nervous and she said, no, you have to repay the loan and you cannot go. You have to repay. And I said, she herself has come forward and she herself is saying that this is the problem. So I do feel that when you are addressing the first generation who is doing banking, who is doing credit, prepare yourself on the supply side. Be more comprehensive. And so Mandeshi is the first institution which has created financial literacy on debt counseling. How do you do debt counseling? And not only just for the bank we are doing it, but we have been talking to the policymakers also that debt counseling is equally important, and I'm proud to share with you that Central Bank of India has taken this as a major component of financial literacy, that how do you do the debt counseling. So it is important to address those issues.
Thank you. And so you talked about the importance of savings. I'm curious, if as a sort of coming back to your answer, how many of the women that are in or that borrow from Mandeshi are able to at some point in their lives or with this literacy be able to save?
So first of all, everybody has to save. That is one very, you just cannot borrow. That is the whole culture of Mandeshi. So when women come to the bank, they would save first and then they take credit. That is one. And that now actually in the sector also this culture has started coming in. That you borrow, and of course companies want to provide the credit because investors are going to get the return on credit. Saving is a liability. But number of women, how many women they have saved with Mandeshi would be more than 400,000 women who have saved. And whatever bank, which you talked about the numbers, that 750 million euros, that whole capital and saving amount has come from women. So the whole model is that it is a community capital which provides the savings to and credit to the community women, and these community from the profit also they get the dividend.
Excellent, thank you. I think one other question is with regards to, there's an important topic that is becoming even more and more important in social entrepreneurship, which is how to measure impact. And so one question for you is, how do you measure impact at the moment? And perhaps how would you ideally like to measure it as well as you evolve, and where would you like to see yourself?
Sure. So first of all, I would just like to say that if you want to measure impact, you need to have a data properly. You have to capture the data in a proper way. And in that, with Mandeshi, what helped us is that Accenture helped us to create the whole MIS system. And I am just saying that here, professors who are sitting or the students who are sitting, that all of you have that talent, right? Talent of capturing the data, talent of designing the MIS in such a way that you can measure the impact. So Accenture did the pro bono and created the MIS for Mandeshi so that we can capture the data and we can also measure the impact. But while measuring the impact, one impact is that you measure the tangible impact. How much income has been increased? How much, what multiple assets you have been able to buy in course of time. That is one way of measuring the impact. The other impact is a softer impact, which is how much confidence you have developed in that. And let me share with you a very different example here when you are talking about impact and all. So in 2009, I was invited to attend one meeting in Seattle. Now when I talk of Seattle and attending the meeting, you must have realized that who must be the invitee, right? That who will invite in Seattle to attend the meeting. So it was a Gates Foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates had invited me. And there it was about that, what is the impact women have got? We were talking about it. So I narrated one experience that many women at Mandeshi, they take a loan to buy gold and they have a control of gold. So in that, it was a very small round table conference, and there were only 7 to 8 people were invited from all over the world, and there were 3 Bill and Melinda Gates, and then there was another old person was sitting there. And he said that why women will buy the gold, and I said because they will have a control on that. And so he said okay, and then he was like, is it a smart investment? And I said, I don't know it is smart or not, but our women are very smart because they would know the gold prices even in the small village. But if they go to buy Microsoft shares, they would not know the prices of shares or the variation of the prices in the market. And so they will not come forward to sell or buy. And then there was one old man who was clapping. And then he said that, so your women are very smart that they will have a control on gold. And I didn't know who was that man. So I asked Melinda Gates that, who is this person? She laughed loudly and she said, Warren Buffett. I didn't know what to do because this was in 2007 and at that time there were no WhatsApp and I was also staying in a village. I had not seen the picture of him. But what I'm trying to say is that even such people, when they see that this culturally the bank is providing control on finance and control of gold to women, that comes with these that impact is, I think, very, very important because that is going to change the next generation, the lives of next generation. And that impact, how to measure it is, I think people like you, Desiree, will be able to design those formulas to measure the impact of the softer cultural impact.
Thank you. We've been talking about ways in which we can help Mandeshi measure impact as well. I have a few questions here. I know we have 5 more minutes, so maybe we can go through some of these. They're all very good questions. One says, how can developed countries like ours Learn from yours on how to make an impact out of the most simple things. We tend to overcomplicate things and stop on the first obstacle. You've been an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
Very important question, I would say, like how can developed country, or there are so many people who are highly educated and they can be a very good financial engineer. I will narrate you another experience. Another lady, Lakshmi Bai, she came to bank. She placed a fixed deposit in the bank and she told bank that every month I want interest from the fixed deposit. And every month she would come, take the interest and go back. I asked her that every month you are coming and you are taking the interest, for what you are using it? And she said, I am above 60 and I have a problem of my knee and muscles problem. I need a regular medicine. And she said that I am using this interest to buy the medicine. And I felt that, in her way, she has customized a pension product for herself, right? She's a financial engineer. She invested the money and then she is using the interest amount for herself. So this is what actually, people like those who are highly educated can provide the simple solutions to them. Number one, listen to the common people, what problems they have, listen to them and try to solve that. Number two, keep it very simple. And based on that, Mandeshi designed the pension product for our rural women. And when we designed this product, in India there was no pension product for women who are not in a formal economy. But based on that, our fund manager, the way it was designed, that the national pension scheme was designed. So if you listen to the people and if you provide those solutions to them, you can create national level products and make the changes in the policy also. So even if Mandeshi Bank is a bank of the rural women, but today they have designed the pension product for the whole country, which is having more than 1.5 billion population, out of which 50% are women. So these are the women who are very simple, but they can make up, how pension product is difficult, but today they are investing in this pension product.
Thank you. One question is, can you share if the ratio of fraud is lower on women banking than general banking? Overall, meaning are women more trustable?
Okay, let me answer this question in a different way. Number one, yes, when I shared that, first that pre-COVID, our non-performing assets and our gross NPAs or our default was in point something. Right? Now after setting up the bank and after running the bank after more than 2 decades, many men in the village come and they say that, we also want to be a part of this bank. And I feel really very bad that why can't they be a part of this banking? Because it is important for them also. And I also talk to our women that, so many men are also saying that we want to be a part. So why don't we do that? Our women's what they say. They say that we will have to learn the skill of how to do banking with them and how to do recovery from them. It's not easy. So first let us learn how to do recovery from the men and then we will think about setting up the bank for men. So I would not say that women are more loyal or honest, I don't know, but I do see that the skill set which we have is more effective with women. With men, we will have to have a different skill set only, which we don't know.
Thank you. I just also one other question here says, thank you for all what you are doing. Empowering women is so important. I was very impressed when I saw women carrying sand and rocks on construction sites in India. My question is, how has the countryside of India changed this last 40 years?
So one big change, if somebody wants to do the impact of Mandeshi Bank also, the one big change has come. You saw pictures of so many women, and that one woman was with the goat kid. Her daughter is studying, is going in a computer engineering course. So the daughters of India and their life is changing because women are investing in that. And in countryside you will see, we talk about STEM education, but you go to the countryside of India and you will ask women that what you want to become, and they will say, we want to become a computer engineer, we want to become a scientist, we want to become an athlete. So that change has come. And I think that change has come not because we have big universities or anything, but because these women have paved the very different journey for their daughters.
Thank you. I want to ask you, what key last piece of advice would you like to give to our current female students and alumni who are interested in using entrepreneurship as a tool for change?
Very important this. I always, many people also say that, Mandeshi Bank is set up. Why there are not many banks? And I always say that entrepreneurship is very attractive. You want to do it, but I would say particularly for the young entrepreneurs and young girls, never give up. People are going to say, when I was applying for the banking license, everybody was telling me that, are you crazy? You know what you are doing? Will you be able to do it? But everybody who was MBA in finance, who were engineer, highly educated, they told me that. But women around me, they said, of course we can do it. Why can't we do? And they learned to read and write. They never gave up. They never got an opportunity to go to school, but they never gave up. And I would like to tell even young entrepreneurs that yes, it is very difficult. I have seen that in women-owned businesses, in women startup, investors don't invest. I say two things. One is that women should invest in women's business, that is one. And second, men should not shy away from investing in the women's business. If you will invest in them, the world will change. And for the young entrepreneurs, never give up. People are going to say that it will not be successful, but which is not the case. And I always remember these women who taught me that don't give up. People are there to support you. So people will always stand up for you.
Thank you. Chandna, it is a privilege to have you here. You are a source of inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could all please join me in a round of applause for Chandna. After a day full of very, very rich insights and inspiration, and just thinking, when we saw you, from this perspective in the morning, and we had the whole program still ahead of us, I think we have heard many, many inspiring things, very much pointing to what we started out saying, that entrepreneurship, making things happen in organizations is very much about the process. It's about doing things. And with that, I think this part of the program called the Red Thread Review, we want to do it truly iese style. So that is, we want to see if this end of the day, in fact, can be the starting point for making some of the impacts that we've seen in the day into actions in your life, tonight, tomorrow morning, Monday. So what we would like to invite you, before we're going to be presenting maybe, some of our insights from the day, is to really take a few minutes to write down one key takeaway of today that you would like to put in action in your work tomorrow on Monday. So for those of you that are online, you can put it in the chat function. We will be able to read it. And for those of you that are here, take a moment, write it down, either a mental note in your head or write it down in a place where you will see it. Put a reminder in your calendar. And then we're going to give you a minute. And then we want to hear from some of you from the insights that you got during today.
But maybe before you start the reflection, one action that I invite you to do is just get out of your chair now for a second, very good, and stretch a little bit because it's been a long day, right? Exactly, very good, okay? So, give your neighbor a body rub if you want to. if your neighbor accepts that, then sit down, thank you, you got our blood flowing, and then sit down, take this 1 or 2 minutes and think about what was the most important insight for you today. As you heard from one of our panelists, from Ivan, it's very important to take the time to reflect, and that's precisely what we're going to do now. Reflect a little bit on the interesting sessions you've seen today. One insight at least that was important for you. And we're going to do the most difficult thing for professors, which is shut up. So maybe 1 more minute, also online, if there's still anybody online, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality to submit your key insights.
So, we have some microphones, I guess. So, if you have an insight, a takeaway to share, we have a hand here. So, let's see, the microphone is coming there from the back.
And if you would like to introduce yourself briefly, say your name, and maybe if you are an alumnus, which year?
Luis, MBA 1996. I will say that one common thing is never give up, go for the extra mile. And just for me, age is not so important.
Very good, and the two can be powerfully combined, of course, right? So I think this never give up thing, we had this run throughout the entire day, starting with our introduction this morning, but I think it resonated very strongly with every speaker, and I'm sure some of you will also have noted that down. The importance of resilience, the importance of getting going, even when the going gets tough. And I see some entrepreneurs nodding in the audience, so it's especially important for entrepreneurs, right, Rodrigo? Very good. Other insights? On this side.
I see a question there. There was a hand in the back. Yeah.
We do cold calling if you don't volunteer.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Hanan. I'm part of the WIMBA club. I still haven't done an MBA, but plan to do so. And a message that really resonated with me was a message that Ivan shared this morning, but also Chetna, which is to really release the need for external subjective validation, obviously not the objective one, which can be, for example, market response, etc. And to just really focus on what I can control, right? Because I launched my life coaching business while navigating the corporate career, and it is successful, but sometimes we get caught up in the imposter syndrome, and I really, really loved what Ivan shared, which is just focus, if you have the mindset, the skills, the personal situation, and I do, and what Chetna said, just keep going, even if they tell you you'll fail, just be crazy and believe in yourself, right? As a young entrepreneur, that really, really resonated. Thank you.
Yeah, very important, not just for young entrepreneurs, also for older entrepreneurs, this kind of importance of really believing in yourself. That's also one of the things that we see in our classrooms very strongly, which is one of the impediments that's holding people back, is not the lack of skills, but it's more the lack of confidence they have in their own abilities. And in fact, that's part of the transformational experience, I think, that happens in a classroom, that if you go through courses and if you do all the coursework, after 1.5 years or so, you walk out with sufficient confidence that you can actually face those strong headwinds and trust your own instincts. While at the same time, of course, listening to others and listening to the feedback, because feedback is very important. It's a social process, and so we really need to also not just rely on the support that others give us, but also the feedback and also the criticism. And try to learn from it, because it's a learning experience. It's nothing to do with failure, but it's all about learning.
Yeah, and I think it very much, in fact, also resonates, but maybe in a slightly different way, from a takeaway that I'm reading here online from Marisa, who says, the idea that growth is not sustainable. We will need to re-engineer a lot of our businesses, become more local, circular, social, and supporting. So there is a clear need, for this thinking that is outside of the box, that is needs our societies, our organizations, our life is asking for some of those solutions. So it's not that, this is something, the resilience that you're doing in that sense for yourself, you're doing it for something. There is a why of why you are persisting. So I think these examples of entrepreneurial persistence resonate also with the bigger picture of why we are embarking in these initiatives.
Yeah, and maybe one more thing that just came to my mind is kind of how do we persist, and how are we resilient? And I think it comes to you easier if you're supported by a strong set of values that carry you through those hard times. So I think that's what we talked about in terms of the compass this morning. So because to be resilient and to get the punch in the face and still get up, it's easier said than done. The question is exactly how we do it. One way is to look for the support of others and trust that others will come to your help, which is what we have heard. The other thing is just, you have your own fixtures and your own value system clear. Any insights on this side? On our left wing? Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Amanda from Brazil. I did the EMBA in 2022, so it's recently. And the thought that I was wondering is, the passion is a common point in all this speaks of the panels today. Because if you have passion about something, nothing can stop you because you pursue that thing until the end. And when you are in the difficult moments, I guess the passion is important to get the energy back. And I saw this in the neuroelectronics speech when they are talking about how the difficult moments are getting the energy low, and you need to find against the concepts who doesn't are positives to you. So something like that.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we can still see this, or we could still see this passion glowing 20 years after, or almost 20 years after having started this business. And I think also from the panelists, you were not here, Anelos, because you were teaching. But what we saw from the panelists, they were all very passionate, but all very passionate about different things. So Anna was passionate about, solving an important problem for her patients. Ines was very passionate about the product she had, and Ivan was just very passionate about being an entrepreneur. And so it doesn't matter what the source of your passion is, but to have something that gives you the fuel, something that gives you the energy, is really very helpful. Once again, to persist and to be resilient in the face of difficulties.
And I'm seeing a very practical and concrete way of translating that passion, I guess, in your daily priority setting by Roland, who is commenting online, to say, okay, on a daily level, every morning, you can think about what is the task today that's going to be having the biggest impact. If I just execute that today, then that is a very concrete way, because the thing with passion and with energy, you need to sustain it, but whom of us is passionate every single minute, every single second of the day. So sometimes, you are, okay.
No, not Anna.
Anna, yeah, so this is something where you need to, you can do an analysis of where you are going to have the biggest impact today, and every day. So thank you, Roland Online, for highlighting how to break up even the bigger things in smaller steps that you can do on a daily level.
And that's actually a very interesting point, because that gives me another kind of idea, which, this idea of prioritizing and your kind of daily activities, and this ability to prioritize, this kind of soft skill and other soft skills have actually been shown in research to be much more helpful to entrepreneurs and to help them succeed than, let's say, pure business skills such as accounting and finance. So, those soft skills, psychological skills, and there's now many studies about that, about entrepreneurship in Africa, which is where these studies were conducted, is that this is really, leading to higher performance in people's entrepreneurial endeavors. So this is actually a very important point, I think. We had another comment back there.
Yeah, I got the mic already. I was at November 2018. I think in the session of Czechna, there was one interesting angle beyond passion, beyond resilience, but actually listen to the users, listen to the user group, because I think, I don't want to abuse, obviously, too much what was said, but I think in many ways and many times it can actually also happen that we are all stuck in our own little bit, or we have fantastic ideas, fantastic concepts, and they look good on paper, but too little times I think we are listening to where really the pain points are, and what really the users are actually demanding, and where we can help. So I thought it was also quite an interesting angle to take away.
Yeah, very good. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That also reminds me of the first session we had this morning with the CEO of Boehringer Ingelheim, where Hubert just mentioned that they have their innovation process really anchored on needs and a needs analysis, not on what they think is cool and could give them good success, but what do patients really need? And I think that's one specific technique that helps you break out of your, these established frameworks that you're carrying with you, and established mindsets. Because, we heard all about, that's important to adopt a new mindset, but exactly how do you do this? Sometimes it's difficult to do this alone, but certainly, talking to customers and getting their frank input, and not just talking to them in the sense of trying to get your suspicions and your assumptions confirmed, but truly listening to them. That can go a long way. in helping you see things in a new way. Are there?
Yes. So, the most profound and impactful conversation that I think made the most mark for me was with Abubakar Suleiman, and the way he was able to identify pain points, and not only that, to also identify key stakeholders to work with. So he talked about the government. He also talked about government like NGOs like UNDP and all, to be able to really make sure that it was a win-win-win for everyone. I think that was really impactful to be able to drive that needed change. And because he wanted to drive the embedded banking model, it also meant that he was going to, do the model in the long run. And so Sterling Bank is right now like one of the most innovative banks. Like they do things very differently. And I think they are also charting a course even for banks that are in other sectors. So I think that for me was really profound.
Yeah, so I think it does speak. We've heard the theme of collaboration quite a lot, and this, I think you're pointing out that we should not think too small in collaboration. There's a lot of stakeholders, there's a lot of people around us that we want to engage, that we want to get on board, and that we want to involve in the co-creation of ultimately what is the innovation for the organization. Thank you for pointing that out, very good points.
We have time for one or two more. It's great that you still wear your blue hat. Really appreciate that.
Sorry about that. So it's from the plastic bag.
Yes.
The takeaways, I already have all I need. It's all about myself. There's no failure. It's all about learning.
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Strong reflection point about you have what it takes. And you have what it takes. Don't question yourself too, and don't set the bar too high. Especially when I look around in this room, who's sitting here. I mean, you do have what it takes. You have the skills. You have the education. Now, do you also have the will and to take action, to change things and to address problems? That's the next step, but it should not be because of a lack of self-confidence. You should be proud of yourself, and you should be confident in yourself. And another one.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm MBA 91. I think I had 3 takeaways. First of all, I really enjoyed your myth busters. That was really nice.
It's always very pleasurable to bust myths.
I can believe it.
Myths.
Secondly, I think what I most got out of the day was actually even not the sessions themselves, but the networking, whether it was coffee, lunch, or just whatever breaks. And I mean, we all have a certain affinity. I have the iese tattoo on the forehead, and you can talk to anyone, and it immediately develops into something that you have in common. And sort of the call to action is, I feel sometimes like I try to make the effort every year, but it's been 32 years since I did my MBA. That's quite a few. I haven't made every guide, but it's a coming home in a way, and it's so worth the effort. I mean, it really is. You have to be humble, you have to listen, you have to keep learning. And I would say that would be my call to action, to keep coming back and making the effort, and you'll always take away something valuable.
That's in fact, Ananos, I think that's a perfect, nice summary. Nothing to add. Really, well done. Thank you very much. And we give the floor to Franz Marty.
Thank you, Anneluz and Chris, for me the stage in this way. And just a few more minutes before we have the occasion to network even further in this cocktail. So I say it right away, Maria, so I don't forget. This is very hard otherwise too. So there will be a cocktail. You're all notified now. And of course, very much invited. It's great to have you back here on our Barcelona campus. Our last Global Alumni Reunion in Barcelona was in 2019, which is 4 years ago. We have a 3-year rhythm, so something happened in between, and that's called the pandemic. That's why we skipped 1 year. There was no Global Alumni Reunion in 2020, as you may remember. And it's great to have you back in this new format. You have noticed that we have rethought a little bit the Global Alumni Reunion format precisely based on your feedback. And we have tried to make it more interactive with specific sessions and give more opportunities and ways also to network to facilitate that there is more of a direct contact. And I think this last session showed we were actually able to establish a conversation, a real conversation. That's what we wanted because that's what you want. And on top of that, we've had, I think, a good group of really inspiring speakers from a very diverse set of contexts, backgrounds, and stories, but in many ways bringing together lots of messages that are very powerful. And when we chose the subject of elevated entrepreneurship, really thought, there's many things going on in the world, and we deal with them in different ways. They came out also, of course, in the interactive sessions, the 4 big streams. But then there are some underlying general themes of how to do things, of some general managerial abilities that have to do with this entrepreneurial spirit. And I think they came out very nicely today. And maybe one point on this also is, I think, as I was listening to the takeaways, I think it's always really inspiring to see how the contributions that people make, the context, inspire us to do things. And the most important message, I think, people ask, what's the best wine in the world? And the answer to the question is the one that you like most. And I think in the same way, what's the most important message of a day like today? It's the one that helps you most, that gets you going and do something different as you walk out of this room, this campus today. Bringing the alumni back together is very important. If I can just highlight this one aspect, as a school, we want to contribute to creating better organizations. Our mission talks about impact, deep, long-lasting impact through leadership precisely. And there's also a community aspect to it that we try to develop in different ways, and the Global Alumni Union is one of them. And I think if there's been one thing that's come clear over the past few years, the pandemic has been one aspect to it, but also other ways in which the societies that we live in are drifting further apart, coming together, talking to each other, listening to each other, and somehow create a common sense of meaning around what we do is very important. So in this sense, I think it's been very important, and we're definitely committed to invest in the Global Alumni Union and other formats that help bring our alumni back to campus, bring them back into a conversation together. And let me close with the thank yous that are very much in order and very important. You can imagine that changing the Global Alumni Union in formats, in the contents, in this way has been a lot of work. Also bringing you here on campus is a lot of work. When you invite guests to your home, well, you're not guests, you're really part of the home. Let's say let me rephrase. When you invite the extended family to your home, then you have to bring the home in order. You have to clean up, you have to find space, there's lots of things that need to happen so that you can, present your in order. So that's what happened. So the big thank you, of course, goes to, in the first place, to the alumni team headed by Mireia. You saw her this morning, so please join me in big applause for Mireia and her team members that are here in the room. There's too many to name, but you can tell they have red badges, most of them here in different places, so they have done a great job in putting together this day. Of course, to our academic directors, Anneluz and Chris, for bringing all the ideas and the speakers together in this wonderful way. Thank you also, Chris, Anneluz, for this. And I would also like to add a special thank you to Julia Prats and to Marc Sachon for organizing, a live session with so many of you in this new context. There were some dry runs, but still, it's always the first time. So also to them, a big thank you. And of course, all the other facilitators in one way or another of this event, the moderators of the panels, the many people, of course, this, as you know, activates, probably more than 100 people on campus here one way or another in different teams to actually make this happen. So some silent heroes here that also deserve an applause. And with this, finally, thank you to all of you to coming here, for doing the great work that you're doing every day out there, wherever it is, where you work, in different countries, different organizations. And please enjoy the remaining time here on campus and in Barcelona as you spend time together with fellow alumni. Thank you so much.